greet our friends everywhere with Chapter 18 of To Ask No Man, the story of George Mueller's incredible adventure with God. This is another in the series Stories of Great Christians, brought to you by the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago.
I was getting exasperated with George. Time after time, I watched him and his orphanages totter on the brink of utter collapse, and then struggle through at the last moment. But do you think that chap would listen to reason? No. He went on refusing to have anything to do with fundraising by ordinary methods, pledges and campaigns and whatnot. The stubborn fellow clung to what he called his adventure with God. In fact, in '39, he had the audacity to open still a third home just for boys. And after every close call, no money in the homes to buy bread for supper, for instance, after every skirmish like that, when a few shillings did come in, George would say, "Now look, see what God has done." But let me tell you some of the things that went on those years. You can judge for yourself. One bleak November day, George walked into number 6 Wilson Street to hear some news from his matron, Mrs. Twomley. Now, the news was hardly unusual, but it wasn't pleasant either.
Usually I take it in my stride, but I don't know. Today it gives me a turn, Mr. Mueller, what with so many of the laddies down with colds and sniffles and whatnot.
You haven't made a mistake about this, Mrs. Twomley?
Oh, sure as your hair is black and mine is grey, isn't a shilling left in this house.
Well, it could be worse. The other houses can tide us over.
You let me finish. It isn't a crust of bread in the cupboards or twopence worth of coffee in the other houses either. And that's the truth.
Mrs. Twomley,
Mr. Mueller, some of the little laddies have the sniffles. What are you going to do?
What we always do about this time of day, Mrs. Twomley.
Prayer meeting?
What else, Mrs. Twomley? Now, Mrs. Twomley, don't worry. We've prayed, now we trust. God will provide.
Wish you were spending the rest of the afternoon here. The trusting part is easier with you around, Mr. Mueller.
Well, I'm sorry. At Kingsdown, they expect me, and I promise.
You run along. 'Tis nothing but my own human weakness to fret, so... But
From
still...
Kingstown, I'll be going directly home. My wife expects me. If you want me, Mrs. Twomley, that's where I'll be.
Yes, sir. Well, good afternoon, Mr. Mueller, and do keep praying as you go.
Well, that November afternoon, George finished up his business at Kingsdown in pretty good order, and just as he was leaving for home, he said,
Such a day. Such brisk air. Wonderful. A day for a little bit of exercise. What if I don't go directly home? Instead, I stretch my legs the long way about. Around by Clarence Place. Yeah, this is what I will do. Such a wonderful day.
No, Mr. Robert, my husband isn't here.
Then where is he? They told me I'd find him here.
Will? Later.
When?
I don't know, but it shouldn't be long. He had some business on Wilson Street. Then he was walking over to Kingsdown.
Sounds like he'll be gone all afternoon.
No, I don't think so. He told me he'd walk home directly from Kingston.
Well?
Mr. Roberts, could I take a message?
No, this is money matters.
Well, often
Women don't have much of a head for money matters.
Oh. Then why don't you come in and wait where it's warm? I'm sure...
I'm a busy man. To tell you what, young lady, I have errands in the neighborhood. I'll stop back in an hour.
You do that, Mr. Roberts. I'm sure my husband will be here then.
Almighty God, thank you for this beautiful world. Thank you for good brisk air, the sky overhead, the gold of the leaves. Thank you for giving me good health, especially today. Thank you for strong legs for walking. Now, God, there's this matter of money for the home. You know how things go today.
Mr. Roberts.
I'll see your husband now, young lady.
I'm afraid you won't, Mr. Roberts.
What?
He isn't back yet.
Look here now. I wasted an hour waiting for him.
I know.
Well, he can't be very anxious to get my money.
Please come in and wait, Mr. Roberts.
And waste more time? A fool's errand this is. No, thanks. I'm going home. Tell that husband of yours I may not be back.
Maybe you'll run into him on the way.
Well, I won't go out of my way to meet him. You can be sure of that. I cut down Clarence Place. If I see him, fine.
Oh, no, he never walks that way. Why don't you circle around back?
Young lady, I'm going down Clarence Place. And I tell you this, I won't look very hard for your husband. Waste 2 hours of my work.
Thank you for this fine walking weather, Lord. Thank you for lungs and legs. Your hand that created this beauty holds also the fatherless children. So we leave them there, safe and... Oh, Mr. Roberts! Well, you out for a constitutional too?
Mueller.
This is the day the Lord has made, brother. You don't look very happy about it.
Happy? I've been wasting my afternoon waiting around for a man to give some money to.
What a way to spend a beautiful day. Who was he?
You.
Me?
Called at your house, waited around, wasted time, called again, but you were off. Out for a constitutional, eh?
Nine.
Stay home once in a while. You might be surprised what'll come to your door. Here. Take it.
Why, Robert...
All I can say is it's a good thing you walked down Clarence Place. I wasn't coming back a third time. And if you'd been half a minute later, young man, just half a minute, I would have missed you.
But this is 20 pounds, Mr. Roberts.
I told you it was money. My blankets for those children. Warm underwear, too. Going to be a tough winter. Cold, plenty of food.
Dankeschön.
Don't thank me, thank God for the 20 pounds.
9. I thank you for the 20 pounds. God I will thank for something else.
Yeah? What's that?
God I will thank for little half a minute.
George was full of stories like that. Sometimes he was rather a bore about them. Made it sound as if the angel of God had come down with a sword in one hand and a 20-pound note in the other. There was the strange episode of the calico and the basket of bread, for instance. It happened in the spring of 42 when the orphanages were 6 years old. And it started with Mary Mueller sewing up a dress for one of the little girls.
Oh, I ripped it. George Mueller, I can't sew on this material anymore. It's so old, it's rotten. You can't expect me to make dresses for the girls out of cloth so old that it... George Mueller, come here and look at this.
Mary, what's all the fussing about?
We're down to this for dresses. Nothing but rags.
Then there's just one thing to do.
What?
I'm surprised at you, Mary. Pray for new material.
George, sometimes you peeve me.
What's wrong? Don't you believe anymore?
Yes, but right in the middle of a busy sewing morning, you tell me to pray for material I need now, not 6 months from now.
Then ask for it now.
All right, I will. Dear God, if I'm to clothe the girls decently, I need something besides rotten yard goods. Please, God, send me brand new material. I need it in a hurry, God. And I'd like some calico and some pretty prints. Amen.
Now that's the way to pray. Short, direct, and tangible.
When did that box come, George?
Just this minute.
Oh, who brought it?
It was sent from London, from 2 women who visited the home last weekend.
Well, open it.
I don't need to. I know what's in it.
Calico, I suppose.
Yeah.
George, what do you mean?
It is calico. I looked. Open it yourself.
It is. It's a huge, big bolt of calico. Why, George, there must be...
18 yards. I measured
Enough for... And what's that?
it. You want some prints, 9?
It is. George, it's lovely.
34 yards, too.
And a pair of ladies' boots. What a wonderful day.
Don't say that yet.
Why not?
The day has just begun.
George, you haven't eaten much supper at all. What are you worrying about?
Mary, remember this morning?
I'll never forget it.
I said the day had just begun.
Well, what happened at the houses this afternoon?
Oh, nothing, except no money and not much food.
What are you going to do?
What I've been doing all afternoon and all year for the last 6 years.
Yes, George.
Right now. Here, Mary, take my hand. Father to the fatherless. Your children, they wait for you to provide. You know the situation, God. It's Saturday night, and the stores close in an hour. If we don't have money soon, then we will not.
I feel like I'm at death's door, but I'm going to drag myself over to Paul Street regardless. I sold the pictures, and I promised the money to the orphans, and it isn't right for me to keep it, even overnight.
If we don't have money in 1 hour, Lord, your children may go hungry.
Here it is, Mr. Mueller. It belongs to you, and I knew it wasn't right for me to keep it, even overnight.
God bless you, ma'am.
Is it much? Just £1, 10 shillings, but it might help.
Yeah, it will help.
Well, I'll be going home now before I get chilled.
Wait, I'll walk along with you.
That isn't necessary.
But I have business over in your direction.
Where?
Over to Infant's home. I have a very urgent errand there.
It was an answer to prayer, Mr. Mueller, and I'm not denying that, but it's just...
But it didn't come in time. You have the money, but the stores are closed. I walked too slow. But I had to be polite to that woman. Her legs were just too short.
Now, don't go blaming yourself.
Huh? What's that?
It's the little ones, bless their hearts, in room A.
Do they always make such a noise?
Only when they're...
When what?
Nothing, sir.
Those babies. They cry because they're hungry, Nine. And it's George Mueller who makes them that way.
I won't hear such talk, Mr. Mueller.
It's true, Mrs. Tomley. What have I done to the kleine Kinder?
If it weren't for you, where would they be? Worse than a little hungry. Most likely dead in somebody's back alley.
Oh, God in heaven, forgive if I've done wrong. Forgive if my trust has been the wrong trust. Hear the kindergarten.
Mercy, it's the door. Now, don't go away, Mr. Mueller. Well, bless your heart, of course we can. Won't you come in? Thank you.
Is it, what is it?
Of course it is. A big basket overflowing with fresh bread, Mr. Mueller. Look here.
French loaves.
5 of them.
Bread cakes.
Half a dozen and more, and 5 brown loaves besides. Served with milk that's mighty toasty.
Danke schön, Gott. Danke schön.
Oh, hush your little mouths, duckies. Your supper's on its way.
And so we conclude Chapter 18 of To Ask No Man, the story of George Mueller's incredible adventure with God. This is another in the series, Stories of Great Christians, which come to you transcribed from the Moody Bible Institute of Chicago.